Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Govs on the Go Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the College. I'm also the host of the podcast. And today I'm talking with Darcy Schein, a graduate from communication back in 1994. Darcy, so glad to have you on the podcast today.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Now, we met actually at a football game. You were back in Clarksville
Good.
not too long ago. And oddly enough, I had met your dad, as it turned out, just before that.
Wow.
And he had told me about his daughter who runs a pie company in Oklahoma City. So I'm kind of spoiling what I'm going to ask you. Can you give everybody a life update? What's going on in your life?
Yeah, well, I live in Oklahoma City. Been here, gosh, about 25 years. It's a wonderful place to be. But I guess in 2010, my dear friend and I started a pie shop. So that's what I'm doing now. We have a business in Midtown Oklahoma City, where all we sell is pie. We do one thing, and we do pie by the slice, whole pies, chicken pot pies, anything that you can imagine. So we're gearing up for Thanksgiving. It's quite a busy time. And besides my pie shop, that's one of my children, but my other two children are in college. My oldest, Kate, is at TCU as a senior, and then my youngest just went off to Gonzaga.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that has been a big transition for our family, but a lot of fun. They're doing great, and just real proud of my two kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I remember the same thing with my our two kids. It's sad, but it's also you're happy because this is what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the pie company soon because I it's one of my favorite subjects is pie. I love to eat pie. But we'll talk about how you got to that point. Let's go all the way back and talk about growing up in Clarksville because let's start at you grew up in a very interesting home. Tell me about that.
I did. Um, I native Clarksvillian. My family has been in Clarksville since the land was settled. And when my parents got married, they moved the original log home that was on the back side of the property up to the front side of the property next to a red brick farmhouse that was built in, I think, the early 1800s. And moved this log home next door. It was built in 1796. Um, so yeah, and then my parents built onto the back of it. But my sisters and I, our bedrooms were upstairs in the log part, and it's a living antique.
Wow.
So, but yeah, growing up on a farm was a lot of fun. Um, I wouldn't change a thing.
So that meant you were probably an outdoorsy type of person.
A little bit. We were known to explore, go down in the ravine, build forts. I rode horses growing up, so I showed Tennessee walking horses as a child, and spent a lot of time with my grandfather going on weekends to different horse shows around Tennessee and Kentucky. So I did that probably until about middle school age. And then I got more into, high school things like cheerleading and fun stuff like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was just going to ask you, what kind of things did you like to be involved in? And obviously, you're a cheerleader. You had other things in high school that you had interest in? Were you involved at all because you eventually became a communication major? Were you somebody that wasn't afraid to be in front of other people?
Well, yeah, I was on the yearbook staff and was an officer in student government, but um, I think I wasn't afraid to be in front of people in spite of myself. I think
Oh.
I'm not naturally um, an extrovert in that way, but I really loved being involved in working through problems with a team, with a group. I had some wonderful friends in high school, and we accomplished a lot together, and that certainly continued in college as well.
I always like to identify people that are major influencers in your life. And can you tell me a little bit about people that supported you, whether it was your family or early teachers that sort of helped give you confidence along the way?
Oh, wow. So many people. I think, certainly my family was very supportive. Um, and one thing that I did kind of outside of school was I taught dance, and I was a dancer for many, many years. And maybe to your point, that's what made me a little bit more comfortable taking on leadership roles and being in front of people. I really loved that art form and performing on stage. And my dance teacher at Clarksville Dance Academy was transformative in that way as well. To step out and do something out of my comfort zone, um, really, I think, made a big impact on how I approached my college years.
Oh, that's great. So you went to high school here, and may I ask what high school you went to here? Or
Northeast.
okay, very
Northeast
good.
Eagles,
And
class of 90.
and you actually told me that your plans were to go to University of Kentucky, I believe.
Yes, I mean my parents went to Western Kentucky. My grandparents lived in Louisville. My dad went to dental school at UK, and so just that kind of made sense. And of course, my dad was a big Kentucky basketball fan. Um, so that was just kind of what I thought I wanted to do. And I applied there and I applied to Austin Peay and was like, oh, I'm going to go to UK. Went on a tour and it was not for me. It wasn't. I met with a professor, did the tour, and even at the end, my parents were like, yeah, this isn't it, is it? It just wasn't. So I went to Austin Peay and I kind of had in my mind that I needed to leave my hometown and do something different. Um, but once I got to Austin Peay, I really found a home there. And I thought I would transfer maybe after a year, maybe after I was more solid on, what I wanted to do after college. But once I got there and got involved on campus and really got to know my professors, that made such a difference. And I did not want to leave. And
Well,
I'm
let's
so glad I stayed.
Yeah, we are too. And one of the reasons that you sort of identified is you found your community, and part of that was uh, a Greek organization. I think that so tell us how important that was for you.
Wow, Chi Mega made such a difference in my life. So much support from other women in going after, leadership roles and other opportunities that I may not have sought out had I not had a network of women behind me supporting me in that way. And just the leadership lessons learned in an organization, um, I still look to that to this day as a transformative experience, and figuring out how teams work together, how you can find the best person for a job and make those connections and all work together toward a common goal. I just met not only some of my best friends there, but what felt good about Chi Mega was accomplishing things together and doing things that I would have never done. I loved flag football. Oh my goodness. Intramural flag football. Loved it. Who knew? Who knew?
And you had
I was
never
in a
done that before.
oh, oh gosh, no. Absolutely not. Um, so yeah, just opened a lot of doors and got me was a Chi Mega opened the door to a number of different activities on campus that I probably wouldn't have done otherwise, and that enriched my experience so much. to be more connected to not just other students on campus, but to other organizations, other professors and administrators that were outside of my major.
Darcy, I'm so glad you said that because I think we try to stress to our incoming college students about trying to say yes. I mean, saying yes to new experiences and new opportunities and finding out about how you can grow. And you actually applied those that attitude when you were early on and you found success. And not only that, you found some really awesome professors to and please share with me the story of again Mike Gocher and how you encountered him.
Oh, Dr. Gocher, my best friend and roommate, she and I both had Dr. Gocher for a number of classes, and this was years. I mean, I'm not sure when he became dean, but it was before that time, and and not only was he a great professor and learned an incredible amount from him, but he's a lot of fun. And one day we were walking up. I think we were had class in Traherne, and maybe we were walking up one side of the to the front door, and we see him coming up the other side, and we're like, we cannot walk into that door after him. So he sees us. We take off running, and we are like busting it to the front door. And he sees this going down. He takes off, like gone. Like he's got a messenger bag, briefcase, whatever, flailing about. He is taken off. He beats us to the door, closes it, holds it in, would not let us in the door. So we race around, find another door, and still end up beating him to class. But it was just one of those fun moments that was very, very much him. He was certainly took his classes very seriously, took teaching very seriously, but he didn't take himself too seriously, and that was a lot of fun for all of us, and made his classes memorable for multiple reasons.
Yeah, and many people have shared that same sort of story about the Gochers, and I really appreciate that he was here helping to impact our students for so long, and what an important part that was. Another sort of a legacy is Ellen Canervo.
Oh, wow. Learned so much from Dr. Canervo. Um, and she is another professor who takes teaching very seriously. Um, and she had a passion for learning in a way that her compassion for her students and care was evident. It wasn't just a class, it wasn't just information. It was a tough class. Those were my toughest classes.
Oh, sure.
Um, and I learned a lot, but I also knew at the same time that she really cared about us and cared that we knew and understood the information. And I think that was a wonderful balance from her. In fact, I did 1 year of graduate school at the University of South Carolina in journalism, and I had a similar class with the very same book that I had in Dr. Canervo's class. And I learned so much more from her than I did in the graduate level class. So, yeah, she's an incredible professor.
Well, I see her all the time, and I'm going to pass that along to
Oh,
her.
good.
She
Good.
will, she will, of course, deflect any praise away
You
from
will.
her because that's the kind of person she is. And what a great role model for you. Not only you, but many people that have had. What other memories do you have about being involved or other kind of? I love that you could recall that story about Mike Gocher. That was great.
Well, I texted my college roommate Tiffany this morning. I was like, did I make this up or did we literally chase Dr. Gocher into the Traherne building? She's like, oh no, that happened. It's like, okay, I'm not crazy. Um, but yeah, I had a number of memories that were wonderful. And I think something for me that was important, being from Clarksville, I lived on campus um, my first 2 years, and then in a house over by the Dunn Center my junior and senior year. And I'm really glad that I immersed myself into the culture in that way. I probably went home less than than some of my friends who lived farther away. But it was a wonderful way to really be on campus and take advantage of everything that was offered. Like I said, I loved intramurals. Now, I didn't play all of the intramurals, but I went and cheered for my sorority sisters and friends that were doing that. The President's Emerging Leaders program was one of my favorite experiences at Austin Peay. Our class was the second class that ever went through the program, and Dr. Linda Rudolph and President Oscar Page were very involved in those early years, and they created a wonderful culture and a cohort for all of us who were starting together, um, and learned so much from them. One of my favorite classes was servant leadership with Dr. Page, and we had that in Archwood,
Yeah.
which probably sounds crazy now that it's the president's home. Um, so all of us in the Emerging Leaders program really created a tight bond and um, learned so much from each other, along with those that were involved in the program. So that's a wonderful memory. But even just, you know, hanging out in the student center between classes, just little things are great memories, along with being in lip sync contests and step shows and things that I would have never done otherwise. But man, I loved that step show. I know it's gotten to be a really big deal now.
It has.
Back and check that out. When we did it, look, we were terrible. We were bad. We were bad. But I remember going and getting gas at a gas station near campus, and one of the guys, I can't remember, he might have been a A5A, I can't remember, but he looked at me, he's like, "Are you a Kyo?" And I was like, "Yes." And this he had to be a football player. This man was towering above me, and he was like, "You're in the step show." And I was like, "Yes. I'm sorry." He was like, "That was cool." So our 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 attempts, our efforts were appreciated, and that was all that we needed. We had a lot of fun and wanted to come out and support our friends, and it was a good time.
Great. So what were your plans upon graduation? Did you know what you're going to do? Were you just kind of like, I'm going to venture out and get a job and move away from Tennessee?
I thought that I wanted to go to graduate school. I did. And so I went to the University of South Carolina for a year, and literally that experience with a professor there was like, I'm not learning anything. Why would I waste my time
Yeah.
continuing this program when I have everything that I need? You know, if all y'all could have had Dr. Canervo, you wouldn't be. So I ended up coming back, and what I wish I had done before going to graduate school, but I think I didn't have the confidence to go for it, was apply to work for Chi Mega. And I ended up traveling as a national leadership consultant with CIO for a year. And then I was hired on at the headquarters in Memphis, where I worked for 2 years. And, that was an incredible experience. I learned so much from working with Chi Mega, and continue to be grateful for that. But that was my first job out of college. I traveled around to different campuses and different chapters and met with the leadership, and offered thoughts and advice on how they could improve their chapter and their programs, and got to meet so many incredible women along the way. So I'm always grateful for that.
So along the way, you had different jobs where you were involved with management. What were you enjoying about it, and what did you not like quite so much?
Well, I've always been intrigued, and I think it started with the Emerging Leaders program, just really intrigued with how organizations work and how teams work. And that experience with Chi Mega kind of fostered that as well. So I ended up in a kind of not Chi Mega put me on a nonprofit management kind of track. And so I worked for a chamber of commerce. I worked for a journalism educators association. I worked for an educational outreach program in STEM when I got to Oklahoma. So that was through the University of Oklahoma initially, and we taught teachers and students how to build robots and program them, which is way something that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
But just being able to kind of manage that function and help grow that organization was a lot of fun. So I did all of those things. Then I worked for my church as well. So a lot of nonprofit oriented experiences in the first part of my career before I took on my one and only for-profit job.
We'll talk about that because you also went back and got your degree, your graduate degree after all.
I did. I did. I got a master's in human relations and organizational development. So kind of continuing that thread of just how we all work together to get things done.
Yeah. And so you certainly have this path that gets sometimes maybe sidetracked, but you have a path of professional growth that you see, and we're going to talk about where it is right now. But so you took some time out of the workforce for family, which I completely understand. And but how does the pie business come in? How do we factor that in at all into this equation?
Well, it very much is attached to staying home with kids. When my oldest daughter, Kate, was in Mother's Day Out, she met a friend also named Kate in Mother's Day Out, and her mom and I got to be friends and realized that we live a block away from each other. And we decided that we would help each other out. And on Mondays, we would alternate cooking and the kids would play and we would have some mom time and start cooking meals together. And then our friends figured out that we were cooking and like, well, why don't you come cook for my bunco group? Or why don't you come cook for my book club? And so we started cooking for friends and then offering cooking classes. And we did a presentation, like a cooking demo at my church, and they're like, well, why don't y'all just come here and cater? I'm like, okay. So we were offered the church kitchen and started catering for the church and doing outside caterings as well. And at that point, someone approached us that we knew who had a restaurant in town, and he wanted a dessert and asked us to make a pie. I'm like, oh, yeah, we can make a pie. We're at this point, we are making whatever anybody wants. We're going to try it. Why not? You want it? We'll make it. It's fine.
So, Darcy, before you go on, were you is this something you had an interest in before that you were like, yeah, I'm really a good cook and yeah, I can get into this, or were you this, I'm going to learn as I go along?
I'm really fortunate. My mom is a great cook.
Okay.
She, hostess with the mostest. If you need an appetizer recipe, call Amelia. And my grandmother taught me how to bake. And so my sisters would go to my grandmother's house and we would make Christmas cookies. She, made apricot nectar cake, cranberry bread, all sorts of wonderful things. So I was really fortunate to have a lot of time in the kitchen as a kid, and I really loved it. And then when I started was staying home with my kiddos, I got more interested in it and taught myself even more recipes and techniques and things like that. So it has always been a love of mine to be in the kitchen. And that I think goes back to just watching my mom and my grandmother and learning from them as a child. So it definitely came about naturally, I would say.
Okay, so it's a little bit in your blood. So let's resume. So somehow you're making all these different you're filling requests left and right, but
Uh,
somehow you get into this niche.
it was wild. So we took the one pie and then he called us, well, bring me two next week. And so we start this little wholesale business selling pies to restaurants. and we're still working out of the church kitchen. And it we also were doing meals. We would have put out a little newsletter of we're going to make chicken pot pie this week. Place your orders. Next week we're going to make poppy seed chicken. Whatever it was. We had all these different meals where people could come pick up dinner, and the chicken pot pies were through the roof. Anytime we offered those, we would get an insane number of orders. And by insane, at this point, it was like 40, which is sounds silly to have been so stressed out about 40 chicken pot pies given what we do now. But we're like, wait, well, there's a through line here. People want sweet pies and people want chicken pot pies. So let's change our name, lean into this, get out of the catering business because y'all, it's hard. That catering, it is hard. So we focused on the pie business and started looking for a brick and mortar. Took us a while. We were very slow and deliberate in how we took that next step. And we've always said that we didn't sit down at the kitchen table and like, oh, let's open a pie shop. That sounds great. It was nothing like that. It was a very organic journey, and in that we would take one step. Oh, this feels kind of good. Okay, what's happening out there? What do people want from us? And then take another step and take another step. So that led us to a brick and mortar in 2013 that we built out, and it's just a small pie shop. We've got 1,000 square feet for our dining room and our kitchen, and we started, I guess, mostly with slices and whole pies when we opened up in the Plaza district. And the first night that we opened, there was a block party, and we had a line down the street, like half a block long, on opening night. And if it wasn't moving, we were throwing it in the oven. We were running out of ingredients. We were literally asking our neighbor for a cup of sugar, like whatever we needed to do to get through that. It was insane. So we survived that and lived to tell about it, and are still here going strong years later.
Yeah, and you said 2013, an important date because you said by 2014 you get recognized with an award that you continue to receive for is it the best dessert in Oklahoma?
Yeah,
Oklahoma
it's the
City?
best of OKC. It's a publication here in town that does a best of vote every year, and we've been very fortunate to win that award. So it was a thrill that first year and continues to be a thrill every year. So I think it's best. They've changed the name of it a couple times, but I think it's best dessert in OKC.
Well, I can tell you, I've been to the website, Darcy, and it is I just look it over, and the problem with me would be deciding which one of those pies because they all look great. I mean, what is the most popular pie that you guys sell?
Definitely the drunken turtle.
Oh,
And that one it's our signature pie, and it's one that kind of came about again organically. My family makes fudge pie at Christmas, and it started with that recipe. And then my business partner Leslie, she was making this salted bourbon caramel. We're like, yeah, put that on top. I'm like, oh wait, that needs some nuts. And so we added, so we took the fudge pie, added some nuts, and then this house-made salted bourbon caramel over the top. And it's been a winner for us since the beginning. Now, in the beginning, we were also making just regular caramel to go on top. It was not a drunken turtle. The sober one didn't sell, so we had to take it off the menu. It's just the drunken, just the drunken turtle.
well, that's awesome. But what? So let's talk a little bit about day to day. What gives you joy about the continuing on? Because I'm sure with every day of more success, there are some more challenges.
For sure, for sure. I think there's two things that get us through the day. I think it's working with people that care about what we do, and we care about each other. I have an incredible business partner, could not be in this business as a solo entrepreneur. It just our um, our kids grew up together. We
Yeah.
ended up making our office bigger. Asked our landlord if he could make the office bigger because one of us would go pick up the kids after school and bring them back. They spend a couple hours doing homework, watching TV at the shop before we went home. We tag team literally everything. So that has been an important part of the journey. And we have an incredible general manager that we've been able to hang on to for, I think, 11 years now, and she is incredible. We've got 22 staff members. All those folks make it fun to go to work. But I think for all of us, what keeps us coming back is, it sounds cheesy, but our customers are incredible. These folks will wait in line for hours. They will camp overnight. They come back week after week. Some of them came to the church and were picking up pies at Thanksgiving then, and they're still coming back this many years later. So we're just really fortunate to have such dedicated customers that we know by their order. We see them every year. Um, that's certainly what keeps us going.
So if people don't know and haven't found out about go ahead and tell people how they can even explore how I found your company online.
Yeah, we're just at piejunkie.com. We are a one shop company. Early on, we decided that we looked at it expanding a million times, and we've looked at shipping pies, but we've realized that we're a local business and we want to put all of our energy into serving the folks that have stuck with us all of these years. And that is, it is wonderful when businesses are able to expand, but for us, this is our definition of success. So you can go to piejunkie.com and see all we have to offer, and hopefully you'll come to Oklahoma City and we can make you a pie.
So as this continues to develop, you've had an opportunity to learn more about yourself and again see your own professional and personal growth. What have you found out about yourself recently?
Oh, wow. Um, well, I remember, back before we even started classes at Austin Peay, we had an emerging leaders retreat and we did a personality assessment. And I was hooked at that point. I love any opportunity to, you know, figure out how my brain works and
Yep, me too.
understand myself better. Um, and so recently, as we've evolved in our business, we've used the Clifton Strengths assessment. And I've done that as an individual, and I'm almost very close to getting my certification as a certified coach for Clifton Strengths. So I'm excited about that. But we've used that with our staff as well, and being able to build our team in a very intentional way and identifying what the natural strengths are in our head bakers, our general manager. We've done it with our entry level front of house staff before as well. It really just unlocks a lot of opportunities to figure out how we work together and how to deliver feedback in a way that it makes sense to people. I think it's important to manage folks in ways that not a one size fits all
Right.
situation. And it's been a really it's really helped us create a culture at our shop where we think people like to work. We tend to have less turnover than most food service companies. We've had employees that have left, gone to other jobs, and contacted us and come back. That's probably, I think of at least 3 or 4 times that's happened. So I think take that as a high compliment when someone wants to come back and get back in the trenches and work with us. So I've really appreciated that journey in terms of learning how to be a better manager. Um, and learning how to individualize our approach to our employees so that they can succeed and feel confident in their job. And we have a lot of fun in the kitchen. We have an open kitchen. You can see everything. When you walk into the shop, there's the counter and you can see everybody in the back. Um, so it's a place where we get a lot done. We've got a big assembly line. We're cranking out a lot of pies. Coming up the day before Thanksgiving, we'll send 1,500 pies out the door. So it's a lot of work. It can be very stressful.
I'm sure.
Um, but we try to have as much fun along the way and honor the gifts and the strengths of each person that works for us.
Oh, that's terrific. And what I really appreciate also, Darcy, is in your story you shared about how the seeds that were planted in you with the PELP program and with just having professors like Mike Gocher and Ellen Canervo helped, later on germinate these seeds, as I said, that have benefited you, made these skills and tools for you that you now are helping other people, and I think that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, we get a lot of questions. My business partner is also a journalism major from Oklahoma State, and we get a lot of questions like, "Did you guys go to culinary school?" I'm like, no, we have communications degrees, and let me tell you the millions of different ways that's useful in a business and in life. If you can communicate well in writing, if you can articulate your business plan, those are all things that are so important regardless of the path that your career takes you on. If you are armed with words and a positive way of presenting yourself and your ideas, that can take you far.
Absolutely. One of the last questions we always like to ask our guest is, what kind of recommendations do you have for students?
I think, because as we've talked about before, say yes. Say yes, do things that are out of your comfort zone, and don't take for granted all of the wonderful opportunities that Austin Peay has to offer. It's so much more than going to class and going home.
Mhm.
You can learn even more outside of class in many cases, certainly about yourself. Um, who knows? You may be great at a step show. We don't know. We'll never know. Don't try. And so I think that's my advice for students in college. And then I think I have a lot of college students that work for us at the shop and who've recently graduated, and and something that I think is important as you're going out into the workforce is learning how to take those opportunities to grow, like we talked about. Receiving feedback from an employer or a coworker is a gift. It's not an easy thing to have a difficult conversation or share something that you could do better. But it's because people care about you and want you to be the best that you can be at your job. And so learning that feedback is important and it's something that's a real positive and it's a gift that you can build on in your career. I think that's an important lesson to learn when you're just starting out in the workforce.
Yeah, some great advice there, and I'm sure that you have told your own children about these things as well as they venture out to the higher education system. Darcy, thank you so much. I know we were meant to talk together because of the what I mentioned earlier, meeting your dad and also meeting you at a football game. I think that was meant to be.
It was. I thoroughly enjoyed going back for a football game, much different than in the early 90s. So it was
A
it was
little
a
bit
good time.
different. Yeah.
hmm
Well, again, thanks for sharing your story. We're great. So glad to have you not only as an APSU alum, but also somebody that's willing to share their story.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers out there for checking out the podcast. Make sure to do so as we continue to profile some of the outstanding alumni we have here in the College of Arts and Letters at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, Take care, and God bless.